We're building a mob farm and then spent hours trying to make it look good. And I think I was able to cook something. This was supposed to be a part of another video, but then I lost the majority of the footage for that project. So I decided to make this a standalone video. So therefore, I don't have the footage of me collecting the resources for the farm. Anyway, the farm is supposed to be built over an ocean, and I already had a nether tunnel to a coral reef. So I decided it as the location for the farm. I did follow a tutorial by Silent Whisperer, but I made bunch of small changes to the initial design, like this trident killer. It was supposed to be built near the main body of the farm, so when the mob from the top floor of the farm falls, they don't die instantly. But now that the kill chamber is lowered, we have to find a way to solve the problem. It was a pretty simple fix. I just had to add a layer of water to break their fall. For the storage of the farm, I decided to only sort bone and gunpowder, seeing all the other loot are pretty useless. We could use the rotten flesh and string for villager trading, but there are a lot better options for that, and it's just not worth it. Apart from that, the rest of the farm is a one-to-one copy of the tutorial. For some reason, in Bedrock Edition, mob can spawn on the block underneath a scaffolding. So the spawn layer of this farm uses scaffolding with water on top, which pushes the mobs into the kill chamber. The most annoying part about building this farm was that you cannot create infinite water source on top of scaffolding. So we had to place temporary blocks to place the water and later replace them with scaffolding. We had to repeat that cycle 5 more times. The coral fangs that I'm placing here is for the mobs pathfinding mechanics. The mobs thinks it's a full block and it makes it easier to make them drop into the kill chamber. Now while I'm working on the remaining floor, let me talk about the video that I was working before this. The one which I lost footage of. The video was about building a lots of farms in a single video, and I completed around 10 farms. And this was supposed to be the last one. But then I was running low on storage, and while I was clearing it, I accidentally deleted most of the video. The list of the farms that I built is on the screen. And now I have 10 farms that I have no proof of building. Anyway, back to the mob farm. The roof of this thing is supposed to be built out of either leaf or tinted glass, because using those two blocks make the top layer spawn be surface spawn, unlike the cave spawn of other layers, and this is supposed to increase the rate drastically. After completing the farm, I did a quick AFK test and realized that spiders are not dying. The reason for that was the piston were moving too fast and the spiders are not landing properly. The fix for this was a slower trident killer. It might decrease the rate, but the spider problem is fixed. After that, I AFK'd the farm until I have more than one double chest of gunpowder, which solved our firework problem, and rest of it is going to be used to craft TNT for netherite mining. Talking about TNT, the other ingredient to craft it is sand, which I collected from a nearby desert along with the sand that I will need for the build. I ended up with 6 shulker of sand, one of which I used to craft TNT. From there, I made my way into the nether and then to Y level 12. And set a camp. I was hoping I would get enough netherite for a set of tools and armor, along with a whole shulker of backup tools, so around 35 ingots. And seeing the result of the first blast, I was confident I would have enough. I don't have a lot that I can tell you about my mining method. I'm just mining in a straight line and placing TNT every 4 or 5 blocks for maximum effect, and this worked perfectly. I ended up with 34 blocks with around 6 stacks of TNT, which is just shy of the initial goal. I don't have any upgrade template and enchanted backup tools to turn into netherite, so it's a problem for the future me. Back to the mob farm. I initially wanted to build a giant ship around it, so I did lots of tree chopping, collecting stacks of wood. But then I realized how much extra work it would take to combine the two shapes, since I already built the mob farm. So I dropped the ship idea and started thinking what can I build around the monstrosity. I was watching YouTube and came across this video, and when I saw the build, I knew I had to try it, but much smaller and less detailed, thanks to Litematica not being in Bedrock. So I spent a couple of hours in a creative world trying to make the idea work, and I was able to come up with something. And looking at the build palette, I was only missing froglights, which requires a froglight farm, and I don't have one. But before I build that, I decided to build the glass layer, seeing I already have all I need. So I dyed most of the glass and started building, after I built a safety net. I started by creating this nice leaking effect with green glass, which I think I could do better if I could pre-plan these builds in a creative mode. But it works. From there, I began laying glass until I reached the top. The idea behind the build is that it is some sort of monolith with an active core, if that makes sense. Anyway, the green glass is there to sell the idea and make it seem like a nuclear power or something like that. One more thing I want to talk about is this is not going to be a giant build in the middle of nowhere, meaning we will add bunch more stuff around the build with a story based around it. But for now, I just want to cover the mob farm. It took me around 2 hours to place all the glass, and I think it looks amazing. Now that I have all the glass in place, the next plan of action is to cover the glass that I just placed, because I realized it would be way easier if I place all the block first and then mine some to make the pattern instead of building the pattern itself. I tried a gradient going from cobblestone all the way to cobble deep slate, and I think that dark oak plank does not work between deep slate and stone, but both the block works nicely with the planks, just not as a gradient, and it looks good but not as good as I want it to be. But I decided to keep it because majority of that will be taken out. And after another 2 hours of work, it's done. And now I don't have any reason to procrastinate the Froglight farm. So I found the nearest bastion using chunk base, which was more than 1000 blocks away, and after making my way there, I cleared the bastion and started planning the farm. Unfortunately, the bastion was on top of a lava lake, and I didn't have any sand or gravel to drain it. I tried to find gravel in the nether, but it didn't work. Anyway, after returning, I drained the lava and continued building. After completing the structure, I began growing the tadpoles using slime balls in the nether to give us the perlesian frogs. But we only need the green frog light for the build, and it needs cold biome to get the right frogs. Luckily, the portal opened in a snow biome, which made my life much easier. And after getting the frogs, I activated the farm and AFK'd for a while, before the iron golem got killed by a magma cube. It was not supposed to happen, but it did. And I didn't have any more iron to spawn a new one. So I stand at the place of the golem, and the farm worked as it's supposed to. And I didn't get attacked by any magma cubes, so the golem was just unlucky. After collecting all the frog light, I returned to the mob farm and began placing more blocks. And I got a netherite template that I forgot to mention earlier. However, I don't have anything to say about placing the frog lights, apart from that it took another 2 to 3 hours. From there, I began tearing the outer layer, trying to create an effect that the outer protective layer is falling apart slowly from the body. I tried to have lot less blocks at the bottom compared to the top to sell the idea that the blocks are falling apart from the bottom, and at the end it all came together perfectly. One last thing I did before I called the exterior done is add these rays of lights. I guess I wanted to add more, but then I doubt that it works or not, so I just built 2 and see what I felt about them, and I'm still debating. Anyway, moving inside, I want to get dungeon vibes, so I used lots of stone bricks along with tons of small details. I only completed the storage room because I ran out of ideas, and that is it. We will continue working on the project in the future as the series progresses. If you like this video, you might like this one, and thanks for watching.